Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We just kept you in the loop with the NHL playoffs. Alex is going to keep us in the loop with the NBA playoffs because they begin tomorrow.
Yeah, they do begin tomorrow. I have to give a shout out to James for hosting my NBA segment last week since I could not make it because I was playing golf. And then, no, I was not playing golf. And then also, fantasy-wise, your daddy won. Daddy Alex took it home. James, you put up a fight. I would have been really upset if somehow you beat me because you got LeBron James in the second to last week of the season.
You know, okay, hold up. I got some shit to say about that.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Garrett French is never invited to this league again because that motherfucker dropped all of his best dudes and you just picked them up. Like, you took Sabonis and then Tyler picked somebody else, and I was like, there's no way. Sabonis put up an easy 50 to 70 points per game, and I was like, that's so stupid, man. I picked up nobody. And then later on, Traden dropped Drew Holiday, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try and get this guy. But then Jose's bitch ass took him, and I'm like, Jose, you're not even what are you doing, man?
He's not even playing.
You're going for $20. I'm going for 140, and you go take him? Come on, bro. But I lost, is what it is. Yeah.
Okay, 100%. I agree with you. Like Tyler and I were talking about this. After he dropped everybody, I was like, dude, that's kind of bullshit. And then I was like, well, fuck, someone else is probably going to do it, so I'm going to do it.
That was my line of thinking as well.
Not the greatest, most legitimate line of thinking, I will say. But I did have the best team all year. I might have lost, but I'm not too upset about it because I did win. But I do agree with you. It kind of makes it feel like he didn't make the playoffs, and then he had a little sad pouty face, and then just dropped all his players because he got upset. So Garrett, I don't know who you are, but that was a pretty weak move. Okay, let's move on to the play-in tournament. So a little bit less than trade-ins because we only have to cover 8 teams total, and there's 4 of the other guys, so they each get 2. We figured that math out pretty easy.
Math.
Okay, so we're going to start in the East because those games start tomorrow. So the 9-10 seed matchup, which in a realistic NBA season, these teams would have not made the playoffs. These are the last 2 out, as you would say. But we got the Charlotte Hornets and the Indiana Pacers. Let's start with the 10 seed Hornets. Eric, what can the Hornets do out of this 10 seed, and just why will they win? Can they get out of the play-in tournament? That's gonna be the question for all of you guys. So,
first off, they have the best announcers in the league, and I'd say this probably like every podcast before we start recording, but everyone needs to go check out like SportsCenter or Bleacher Report's Instagram and just look for like a Hornets clip, and you'll find like a bunch of them. They just hype up every play. It's great. But on another note, LaMelo, it's his first year. Everyone said, they don't think he's going to be like Lonzo, another bust. He's way better than Lonzo, as I said, like in the second episode. And now he gets playoff experience. He's going to be playing with guys like Terry Rozier, who's, won some playoff series before with the Celtics. They got a young Hornets squad. They got nothing to lose. All season they've been playing nail-biter games. They're winning, close games, beating good teams. I think they're just going to treat it like another game, one game at a time, literally, and they're going to find a way to take care of business. I think they win this game. We'll see who they would play next after that, but they got to just go one game at a time.
Yeah, so I probably should have said this beforehand, but the 9 and 10 seed games, whoever loses is out. Whoever wins plays the loser of the 7-8. We've already talked about it on the podcast. We have our own personal feelings about it, but it's here, so we're gonna go for it. Okay, and then so the Hornets are taking on Sabonis, my boy, apparently, and the Indiana Pacers, who had probably one of the most disappointing seasons, looking at their roster before the season started. But they're the 9 seed. It is what it is. James, the Pacers, same questions.
Eric said that the Hornets have nothing to lose, and that's not helping them because they're gonna go out there and be like, "Oh yeah, we made it super far, way farther than we thought." So I mean, like, let's just play. And as you had mentioned, the Pacers having a disappointing season. They have that much more to play for. They want to fix the mistakes they made during season, and they came into this season with a long playoff aspirational run. Like that's not happening right now. They're fighting for their life. They're trying to make it into the playoffs right now. They have a lot more to fight for, and that passion, that intensity is going to drive them farther. On top of that, Malcolm Brogdon's back. He's been gone for a while. Hayward for the Hornets, he's out, and he's going to continue being out. And with that comes a lot of the Hornets playoffs hopes. LaMelo, as you had mentioned, is good, but he's not back to what he used to be pre-wrist injury. He's putting up subpar numbers ever since he's been back. Sabonis, on the other hand, Alex's boy, has been on fire. The dude averaged a triple-double in the month of March. And the Hornets as a whole, they've lost the last 5. They don't look good. They're in a slump right now. It's the wrong time to be slumping. How far can the Pacers go? I think they beat the Hornets. If the Celtics move on to the second round of that play-in, they'll beat Boston. If the Wizards move, they'll lose to the Wizards. Overall, if they make it to the actual first round of the playoffs, they're going to lose to the Sixers.
Yeah, the Pacers, Brogdon, Sabonis, Karis LeVert, those are 3 all-star caliber players. I think I as much as the Hornets are super fun to watch, and I'd love to hear their announcers more, I just think Indiana has too much scoring, too much experience. And yeah, I think the Pacers will move on from this game and then face either the Boston Celtics or Tyler's Washington Wizards, who I know you guys talked about it last week, but Tyler, they made it into the 8th seed. They would have been an actual real life playoff team this year after we continually shat on them. So the Washington Wizards are the 8th seed. The Boston Celtics are the 7th seed. So same question, Tyler, apparently you're Washington Wizards at this point.
Yep.
Can they beat Boston, or if they lose, can they get out of this play-in tournament? What do you got?
Yeah, abracadabra, motherfuckers. Wizards doing their thing. I told you. Called it. It feels good. But yeah, so Wizards finished the season 17-6, one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They're coming in on an absolute tear.
Right,
so the Wizards are I think they are the worst defensive team in the NBA. However, they are very good at keeping really good pace. So they actually have the number 1 pace in the NBA in terms of shots per game. And, shooting percentage wise, not that good either. They just put up a fuck ton of shots and they end up, winning. So I think against this Boston team, I think that they can win against the Boston Celtics. And I think that they will. Bradley Beal, we talked about him. You guys talked about if he can carry this team. I think he will. In the 3 games he's played against Boston this season, he scored 41, 35, and 46 points. So obviously Bradley Beal is the key to the success of this Washington Wizards team. I kind of like the matchup. I don't think the Celtics are playing very motivated, very great basketball right now. I think the Wizards are playing very well. I think that they're just going to run them down. And I think Bradley Beal is going to put up at least 40 points, and the Wizards will take that 7th spot. After that, I think they have no chance of advancing. The top of the Eastern Conference is just so good. There's no way the Wizards can outpace one of those top teams for a 7-game series. But I like them in this playing round against the Boston Celtics.
Do you still think that Bradley Beal is going to put 40 plus points a night, playing 80% with a messed up hammy?
It's his last. It's potentially one of the last games of the season. He's going to go all in. He may not put up 40, but if he puts up mid-low 30s, and Mr. Triple Double does his thing, I still think they have a pretty good shot.
Does he get a triple double in this game?
Does Beal get a triple double in this game?
No, Westbrook.
Does he? Yes, I think he does.
Okay.
You can't. You
I
can't.
think that's a given at this point.
He does that.
He
and
averaged
lose
triple-double
by a
season.
free throw. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That he misses. Yeah.
That would suck.
Yeah, that's probably part of the reason why the Wizards shoot so much is because Russell Westbrook can't So he has to do it a lot to get his points.
True.
Okay. The 7 seed, probably one of the most disappointing teams. Eric, you nailed it when we talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Celtics are going to end up in the 7 seed, and they're there. They are going through some injuries for sure, but trade-in, the Celtics, what can they do? Same business.
Deploy Jason Tatum. That's really it. He played in 64 games. He turned his 4th year in the league, and into quite a season. He averaged 26.4, 7.4, and 4.3 in nearly 36 minutes per game. He had some silly, crazy splits. He was shooting the ball very well. He had a very solid season, and he's going to bode well as the home team, as the hosting team, because he shot better from better in the Garden. So I think that he's really going to have to step up if they're going to have a chance, because if not, then they're not going to make it. All that said, the Celtics are going to lose. Celtics are going to lose. They'll be lucky to win that second play-in series. Bradley Beal is amazing. He's not 100%. That doesn't matter. He's still going to eat him up. The Celtics are fucked.
That's
all I have.
Okay.
Big Celtics guy.
They're a team that's playing uninspired basketball. They're playing a team. They are a team that's declining while playing a team that is ascending. That is not where you want to be. I have no faith in the Celtics. Zero. They're done.
I agree with you, Trayden. You want to be coming into the postseason playing well. They're not playing well. Their second best player, Jaylen Brown, got hurt in the last week. He's out. Jason Tatum has been amazing, but he did have a pretty gnarly bout of COVID and has to take a pump from an inhaler before every game now. I actually think somehow the Washington Wizards are going to win this game, and they will be the 7 seed. Washington Wizards are going to be the 7 seed.
They're playing so much better basketball. I mean, just Celtics are done. And guess what? I was supposed to really back them up. Like, that was my job. How could I do that? How could I do that?
It now feels like we've talked so much shit about the Celtics that they'll win because it's us. Like, as a collective group, yeah.
Yeah.
I technically agree with both of you guys, since Tyler picked the Wizards to win this game and Trayden just shat on the Celtics. So I think the Wizards move on, and I actually think the Pacers will be that 8 seed. Personally, I don't think either one of those teams realistically has a shot. Like Tyler mentioned, the top 3 seeds in the East are just nasty. So good luck to whoever comes out of that in the East. It's going to be a very tough road to handle. So those games are tomorrow. The Celtics game and the Wizards are at 9:00 Eastern, and then the Pacers Hornets is at 6:30 Eastern. Probably turn that one on at work. Moving over to the West. So the West plays on Friday. Same thing. We'll start at the bottom. The San Antonio Spurs are the 10 seed, and they're playing John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, the 9 seed. I would say, difference in experience for sure between this Spurs franchise and the Memphis Grizzlies franchise, just a little bit. But we'll start with the Spurs. We're going to go right back to Trayden. He's going back to back. What can the Spurs do as the 10 seed?
Yeah, look, this matchup's interesting because it's old school, right? Like, both teams suck from 3, so this is like old school basketball. They drive the hoop, they take the shots from inside. That's like old fashioned basketball, and I think that what they're going to have to do is just continue. They're playing with house money at this point. I think that they're an inexperienced team. And they just got to lean on the fact that, hey, like, we're here and we are just going to have to fight. I don't think they have a chance of beating either the Lakers or the Warriors, whoever loses that. So, I think that they're going to have to lean on Greg Popovich. You guys talk about him all the time. You guys pump his tires like crazy, like he's the greatest coach. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know basketball, but it sounds like you guys are damn right. And that means a lot. I mean, an experienced coach can go a long way, especially in the game of basketball. I've seen it. I would argue that was a large reason why, besides Kawhi, I think that Nick Nurse was a big part of the Raptors win and Raptors run. He's a good coach, and I think he did some great things with them. And I think that you see the same type of thing here, even though Popovich is clearly the better coach. So they have that going for him. You could say that Memphis inexperience is going to help San Antonio. I think they're both inexperienced, so that's a tough matchup there. I think at the end of the day, they're going to fight for it, and it's going to be old. It's going to be, like I said, old school basketball, and I think they may be able to squeak out a win, but then they'll turn around and lose to hopefully the Lakers.
Thanks for that little jab right at the end there, Traden. That was great. On the flip side, Eric, the Memphis Grizzlies, what are they doing? How they do?
They actually remind me of a little bit better version of the Hornets on the West side. They got a young, talented superstar, Ja Morant. He only continues to get better and look more confident. Once again, a team that has nothing to lose but everything to gain. It could be a trap game versus the Spurs. Other guys like Grayson Allen have been good glue guys. They got some good glue guys on that team coming into their own. And similar to the Hornets as well, they've been battling most games out this season and beating good teams. They beat the Lakers, I believe, once or twice. They beat the Clippers a couple times this year. They've beaten pretty strong teams. So it's not going to be anything out of the ordinary for them to have a tough game. And, one game at a time. I don't really think they're going to win, but I wouldn't just say like they're going to get mollywopped. I think it'll be a close one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those games that if you're not an avid NBA fan, you'd be like, why would I ever watch this? But it could be one of those games where there's two mediocre teams and it is really entertaining. Like it could come down to a final shot. And if it does, I think you've got to trust Popovich and the Spurs in that with just his expansive coaching knowledge. So I have a really tough time. I kind of want to pick the Grizzlies as almost an upset, even though they're the higher seed. But I think I'm going to go with the Spurs. I think DeMar DeRozan is having almost an unheralded, quiet season that people just aren't really talking about. The Spurs do have some scoring depth. And I trust you're right, Traden. I'll drive all the way down to San Antonio and I will pump Popovich's tires with a hand pump if you want. He's probably the greatest coach or top 3 greatest coaches in NBA history. I just think the Spurs, they're just a better team. I mean, I had them in my top 10 in my power rankings at one point this year, and the Grizzlies, I don't think ever topped like number 14. So I'm going to go with the Spurs. It kind of almost doesn't matter what happens in this game because it sort of feels inevitable. Whoever wins is going to lose to whoever loses this next matchup. I think this is easily the best matchup of this play-in tournament. I think it's no one really saw this coming at the beginning of the season for sure. But we have Warriors and we have Lakers. You guys talked about it last week on the podcast. The Warriors are the 8 seed. James, the Warriors, can they beat the Lakers and become that 7 seed?
No, they can't. But see, the thing is, you had asked the question about how far can they go, so I'm going to continue running with this here.
Yeah, go for it.
So here's what they're going to lose to the Lakers, but they're going to beat the Spurs because the Spurs are going to beat the Grizzlies, and then they're going to take that 8 seed and play the Jazz. They will beat the Jazz and play the Clippers in round 2. That's my prediction, and here's the reasons why. Steph, when he's on, he's on. That dude can will his team to victory. It don't even matter if that dude's hitting. He's going to shoot from half court, and you can't even guard it. He's going to make every single one of them. And as of right now, the Warriors are on fire. Like since April 6th, they've only lost 6 games and only lost 2 in a row one time. And in that time frame, they beat the top teams in the league. They beat the Jazz, they beat the Suns, they beat the Nuggets, the 76ers, and the Bucks. They beat all the best teams in that time frame. And so I think all that momentum and that team chemistry will carry over. They will lose to the Lakers. The Lakers are motivated to win the first game to play the least amount of games possible. LeBron's come out and said it. AD's come out and said it. They're going to do everything in their power to just play that one game and make it to the playoffs and move on. the Warriors, they're okay with losing that first game. And that second game, as you said, like they're going to lose. The Grizzlies are going to lose no matter what happens there. It's really the 8th seed that will go on to play the Jazz. And that'll be the Warriors.
Okay. I like what you're saying. Tyler, the actual team you actually support, not the Washington Wizards.
Yes.
You're wearing a Kobe jersey, the Lakers. What? Just go for it.
Yeah. So obviously Kobe jersey inducted to the Hall of Fame this weekend. Awesome moment. His wife did a beautiful speech there for Kobe. So I just want to give her a shout out. Kobe, we all miss you. But so moving on to this game, as James mentioned, if Alex Curry is on his game, it's going to be very difficult to beat the Warriors.
Steph Curry.
Alex Curry's the Angels female.
Come on, bro.
That was a
Valley
heck
Sports
of a pull.
Now I know who you've been thinking about.
Yeah, clearly.
I'm telling Jess.
Steph Curry. Okay, so anyway, the Curry and the Warriors offense has struggled against the Lakers this season. The Lakers' strength is their defense, best rated defense in the NBA. This season, Curry has had a 6% decrease from the field and 8% decrease from three against the Lakers. So the Lakers know how to defend Curry pretty well. Now, if they can do that, I don't think that the Warriors have any chance of beating the Lakers. But again, I would say my concern with this Lakers team is obviously their injuries. LeBron, AD, not 100%, and just their overall kind of attitude about everything just seems not where it needs to be. They just seem kind of not very. They kind of seem to be moping. Oh, we're just having to play this stupid playing game. Like I'm not 100%. Like they kind of just seem not motivated at all to win, which to me is a concern. But maybe that's just media playing things up. Maybe the media is trying to tell us that, they're not doing that well. I don't know. It's hard to really say because you're not in the locker room. You don't get a sense of really what it's like unless you're in that locker room. We can only tell what the media is telling us, or what the players are telling us. The Lakers did finish out on a pretty good, I think it was a 4 or 5 game win streak there at the end. So that was a little bit hopeful. I do think that they will win this game. If they are playing, and they're playing up to their potential, I think this Lakers team can go very, very far. I think they can make the finals. But that's a big if. And honestly, I'm not super confident more on the mental side of them more than the actual abilities to do it. We had this Lakers team preseason ranked number 1. They were number 1 for like 3 or 4 weeks. And, they're still more or less the same team. They're just, they've obviously had a lot of, bad injuries. So they're back together, hopefully they can figure it out and, go on a good deep playoff run. I just don't know if their bodies can withstand it or mentally they can withstand it. I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah. Congratulations, Phoenix Suns. You get the 2 seed and then you get LeBron and the Lakers. Damn, Chris Paul really can't catch a break. Yeah. The Lakers are healthy. Ish. If they are healthy, they are probably still the favorite to come out of the West, especially with some of the injuries that some of those other top teams are going through. I agree with you. I do think that the Lakers will win this game, but Steph Curry is sort of like peak Kobe, peak MJ. You can't really stop him. You can only try to contain him. And Steph Curry is a totally different monster compared to those guys. But I do think the Lakers will come out of it. I think a huge part for the Lakers is also Dennis Schroeder is back. He was out for 10 to 14 days with his, I don't even know if he had COVID or he was just on the COVID protocol list. And the Lakers depth is still impressive. It's much better than the Warriors depth. A front court of Andre Drummond and AD is just insane. Again, I think the Lakers can go very far. I think they can win it all, but they're going to have to play peak performance. I agree with you, Tyler. I'm not as confident in them as I was going into the bubble, where I really didn't think a team other than the Clippers had a shot. And, the Lakers almost breezed to the NBA championship last year. The most games they lost was 2 in a series. So it will be a fun play-in tournament. I'm not going to ask you guys who your picks are yet for overall NBA champion. We'll do that next week when we have our normal 8 seeds. But go watch these games. It's a whole new experience for all of us, so it'll be fun. But the NBA playoffs are starting. But that's all I got.
Oh yeah. Like we said earlier, it is the most wonderful time of the year. That's not Christmas time, everybody. That's the time when the NBA and NHL playoffs begin every spring.